You know a movie is cooked when in comparison the first film, Akhanda that released in 2021 looks like a masterpiece. Irrespective, Jai Balayya and let's start Chedam. The production company hassles, dues, and release date mess that this movie had gone through truly broke my heart as I was geared up to watch this spectacle on the 5th of December. But the 1 week wait is nothing to see my idol on the big screen. Oh, the wait was so worth it. I became a Balayya fan long before the pandemic. I remember vividly that it was Okka Magadu that truly made me a fan of his conviction, of his dashing, beautiful looks, of his impeccable dance steps, of his totally natural charisma and appropriate age gap romantic relationships in film, and not to forget what made me his biggest fan, his juggling skills. But Akhanda, in this long standing relationship of worshipping him, was just something special. For Balaya and Taman collectively burst my eardrums and made sure that even after 4 years of the last movie's release, I remember it, revisit it, and watch the second part first day, first show. Only a true fan of Balaya will show such commitment and always remember that for the sake of peak cinema, I will always be standing first in line, even if it means buying 5 more tickets in Ghaziabad so that the cinema owners don't cancel the show. The 2021 Akhanda, the film directed by Boyapati, Nolan Sreenu, known for exceptional award-winning films like Skanda and Vinaya Vidya Rama, became an absolute box office sensation. As twins are separated at birth, one representing nature and the other destruction, two Balayas strive towards defeating anyone who aims to destroy Mother Earth. In the first film, we had copper mining being used as a ruse to extract uranium and contaminate drinking water for the village. A criminal under the disguise of a Hindu godman being the ultimate villain. As the villains aim at killing those who come in their capitalistic ways, Akhanda, the same twin separated at birth with limitless powers, comes to the rescue to put the world in order. The mystical elements, the influence and rage of Lord Shiva, and the battle of good and evil was this over-the-top but partly convincing commercial starrer. The important point to note is that in the climax, Akhanda conducts a tapasya in order to make sure that Murli Krishna's daughter is revived, and when successful in reviving her and killing the villains, the daughter urges him not to leave, only for Akhanda to promise her that whenever she is in trouble in the future, she should remember him, and in a matter of a minute, he will appear to protect her. The role of the daughter in the sequel is played by Harshali Malhotra. Akhanda 2 builds on another aspect of human society. While the first one was about preserving Mother Nature, here we have the protection of belief in God, as the movie portrays those who are vengeful and powerful, wanting to eradicate faith from the very core of Indian society, specifically aiming the Mahakumbh that happens over 40 days. This time, Murli Krishna and Akhanda, both played by Nandamuri Balakrishna, have way more powerful villains to face. A tantric played by Adi Pinni Shetty, having access to black magic and powers that reside with the devil, an opposition leader played by Kabir Duan Singh, and foreign generals modeled around China. Why are dictators and world leaders in the mix here? Why are they after Harshali specifically? Why are they after Bhakt simply praying to their gods? What compels Akhanda to rage with such vengeance is the premise of Akanda 2. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Akanda 2 in theaters or not. The good. Brief moments of genuine thought, Taman and Balaya's energy. When you actually think about it on paper, the concept of eradicating religious belief from a society as a weapon may just be the most sinister plan executed by the antagonist, and it can shape into becoming one of the most terrifying hurdles for the protagonist. And while the makers absolutely waste such potential with outdated and a technically terrible film, there is food for thought in brief instances in this film that genuinely make you contemplate. The problem is that these moments are few and far between in a narrative where characters speak at an excruciatingly fast pace and lecture the characters and the audience in turn, versus ever having a conversation. The only time when Akhanda opens up a discourse with humans that includes his niece Janani, played by Harshali, is where we get moments to ponder over. Does God care for the atrocities that humans suffer on this earth? Have humans lost their way due to greed? Is bhakti only done with the promise to get something in return? Is God actually observing our each move? Are the feats in our own lives merely dictated by what God decides, or can we credit anything to our own effort and intellect? Is everything predestined, or are we the masters of our own fate? Those questions can bring great moments of depth in a commercial narrative where most audiences are told to leave their brains outside of the theatre. The problem is that this depth is exchanged with theatrics, action set pieces, a lot of shouting, and money shots that take away from the concepts that can be great points of discussion. Taman absolutely pales in comparison to the spectacular score he provided for the first film. His songs that integrate shlokas and mantras do add some gravitas to the scenes, but it often transitions to become excruciatingly loud, compensating for the funny action sequences we see on screen, but failing in the process too. The last thing that I can give props to is that Balayya, at the age of 65, genuinely has a lot of energy and fire in him. Even though his scenes are mostly associated with him shouting at the top of his lungs and breaking the fourth wall to give us lessons about Sanatan Dharma, he channelizes some great enthusiasm to the brain rot happening in the frame, something you cannot say for a lot of stars who sleepwalk through most of their movies. A for effort for Balayya, but I heard in his interviews that he rotates through a select few directors, and this mess of a movie should be a reminder for him that if he does venture out of the pool of directors that seem to still work with outdated formulas, then sky will be the limit, as it will be the marriage of old school and new school that is desperately needed in the packaging of the mass hero that is Balayya. The underwhelming aspects. CGI and visual effects straight out of a tin can. Think of this, and this may be practical in our heads, but any sane person in this world would assume that if a movie has done commercially well and is planning a part 2, then the visuals of the movie will progressively become technically more slick and proficient. But we live in a day and age of films where the sequels look significantly cheaper and amateur than the previous installments, something that we have seen with a massive film like War 2 this year. Akhanda 2 is no different. The sequences set in the snow-capped mountains genuinely feel like there has been little to no attention to detail that has gone in creating the environments purely generated digitally. The environments never seem like they are lived-in experiences and extract a very artificial aesthetic that even for the biggest fans makes it tough to get fully invested into the events playing out on screen. I am already prepared for the over-the-top action that will happen in a Balayya and a Boyapati Sreenu film. I am a veteran at this point, knowing very well what will happen visually, but at least the first film had some practical use of its surroundings, some sets being built in real environments. But here the CGI is an absolute abomination. Scenes intending for us to feel the divine energy are extremely half-baked because the intensity of Balayya does not match the poor visual aesthetic of the movie that has no attention to detail in their digital renders. Replaceable actresses and lack of logic. I couldn't help but laugh when Balayya was asked why Pragya Jaiswal, the actress who played Murali Krishna's wife in the first part, does not feature in the film, and he said that her character did not have enough scope in this film, so rather than increasing the length of the movie, they decided to make her pass away and present her with a photograph with a garland on it. I think something else may have definitely gone down behind the scenes because Pragya is clearly standing for the Muhurat shot of part 2 with Balayya. Another case of sequels, I guess, casually replacing leading women. Here Samyukta Menon joins the party as Balayya's co-actor, but they barely have scenes together. She is more of a mentor to Harshali in the movie. I am all for defying physics and absolutely surrendering to the mad vision of Boyapati Sreenu, but here there are moments in this film where he takes such wild leaps that I can't help but laugh out loud. This is especially in the case of some of the action set pieces that include Akhanda turning a goon upside down and doing an arti blessing Harshali while the goon perfectly stands perpendicular to the ground as if Goldberg is about to perform the jackhammer on him. There is a scene where Akhanda uses Lord Hanuman's Gad as a screwdriver and carries on to do the Hulk smash on Loki from the Avengers first film to the villain, while in brief intervals Akhanda checks his heartbeat whether he is still alive or not after beating him. It's comedy gold but not intentional. It's supposed to be intense. There is a point in which Murali Krishna beats up bad guys who have a ganja den. He beats them and then lectures them about the responsibility of citizens. It's hilarious because its intention was for the pan-Indian audience, lecturing everyone about Kannada pride, Telugu history, and then going on to talk about Mumbai and its history, all while the movie is not screening in national chains and is talking to a void that barely knows this movie has released in the North Belt. What's hilarious is that the goons who are beat up get so taken aback by the powerful speech that Balayya gave that they walk in slow motion with Balayya as the den blasts in the background. ऐसा जल्दी से हृदय परिवर्तन मैंने आज तक नहीं देखा. There are hilarious scenes spread throughout the film. One in particular, as Balayya protects a crowd from the blades of a helicopter, is peak matlab kuch bhi material. The funniest part about the action, and this is a consistent feature of commercial movies, that people are equipped with arms and ammunition but are adamant to charge towards the heroes, cutting the distance between them and the hero while armed, making absolutely no sense and, well, getting cut and killed in the process. Akhanda is invincible in this movie, the protector of Dharma, and while his ability cannot be questioned, he needed worthy villains to fight against. Speaking of which, lame antagonists and unintentionally funny. The villains in this movie are absolutely useless. They are caricaturish dimwits who are easily outwitted and defeated. There is a general who is clearly modeled around China who has his eyes on India, and he needs the aid of General Chang. You would assume that it will be a Chinese actor, right? But no, the makers believe that Saswata Chatterjee is an appropriate casting for General Chang, who has read about the intricacies of the Bhagavad Gita but never uses all the knowledge he has procured to defeat India. They keep on singing praises of India on how Alexander and even Genghis Khan could not rule this epic land, and it's their religious beliefs that have kept them afloat, referencing the Turks and the English as only being successful in ruling India because they double-crossed them, clearly disregarding on how that is also a strategy in ruling over someone. This movie, I realized as more minutes pass by, is ideal for this kid.
अमेरिका क्या कहता था? क्या हो तुम? आज हम कहते तू क्या है बे?
Its grandiose talk about religious beliefs while referencing it as an influence of scientific breakthroughs. When a DRDO scientist is asked on how she has created a bio-shield for humans, she references the Ramayana as her influence. Everything is surface level. There is no deep dive on how this country can be protected from wide-scale biohazards, but there is immense pride as the dialogues take the shape of WhatsApp forwards and pseudoscience, making you facepalm through most of the running time. The reason why this movie is unintentionally funny was clear in one scene, when a Chinese general asks his soldier when he loses a dear one, did he fight valiantly against India? And the soldier replies, नहीं, ये Indian soldier के एक ही मुक्के से मर गया. I burst out laughing. I mean, you have a character like the Tantric who has the ability to channelize his energy through spells, and he is built up for such a long time in the movie, given such an indulgent origin story that when the ultimate battle happens, he is like any other generic villain. This battle could have easily become an epic duel like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, of powers coming at blow with each other, but Boyapati's presentation is so outdated that all we get is slow motion, money shots, and characters screaming that genuinely makes your ears bleed. Saswata Chatterjee and the Chinese general that accompanies him ham their way through the film, making you never feel like the threat is something to be scared of. Akhanda will always come to the rescue. Announcements versus dialogue delivery. The toughest aspect of this film that is a real struggle to get through is the cadence in which the dialogues are delivered. I am sure if you were to do a Guinness World Record of the most words said in under a minute, Balayya can take the cake with this film, yapping in such a fast fashion, being the representative India hype man on the global stage, and ending each dialogue with an incoherent English line just so that we get the summary. Every dialogue is literally an announcement, much like how we see Hindi dubbed versions being satirized by creators with the line, "Tum jante ho wo kaun hai?" And this never ends in the film. A long speech will end and Balayya will say something like, "When there is a bad, when there is a god, be brave." And the staple Boyapati reaction shots will follow. Balayya will deliver the long speech, lecturing the army chief कि तुम देश के रक्षक हो पर हम धर्म के रक्षक हैं. Of course, ending in English by saying, "You and me may sound the same, but we are not the same." Boyapati reaction shot immediately. What I also clearly noticed is that the makers thought that through this movie they can hide under the guise of God's imagery and everything will be forgiven. Their incompetence to tell a good story is hidden under the religious imagery and bhakti, assuming that the audience will get swayed in the process, not realizing that why Akhanda worked in the first place, the first movie, was not only the parallels it had with Lord Shiva, but a great setup of a story that ultimately showed us the anger and rage that resides within our gods that especially retaliates when someone destroys its Mother Earth. Such basic structure is also missing in the second part, making Akhanda 2 one of the most exhausting and unintentionally funny movie experiences I have had this year. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below of what you thought about Akhanda 2. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.